is Nathaniel Donnett. I am a multidisciplinary artist, also Dark Imaginarians practitioner, living and working in Houston. I am very interested in different disciplines, installation, mixed media, painting and drawings, sculpture with found objects or inexpensive objects, video performance, and community-based projects. I'm very interested in American Black social life, fugitivity, and Blackness. I'm also interested in everyday in regards to the poetics and prosaics, and my work generally deals with social, political concerns and how those things exist in our social systems, mainly race and class. What I've been interested in doing is mainly asking questions and not necessarily providing answers, and trying to figure out or reflect on our being, our own subjectivity. As a young person, I remember that I didn't know anything about art museums or artwork. My mother and I were poor and working class, living in Black historical neighborhood of Third Ward, Houston, Texas. And my interest was always in either music, dance, or drawing. And so a lot of times I would just imagine, as an only child, I would just imagine these spaces and worlds for myself. And so that's kind of what I do now. And I think about what's going on in these urbanscapes, and mainly question how are we existing in this world, in this society, and what is this society about? Dark Imaginarians is a term that I coined because I had an interest in trying to figure out how can I identify my practice, thinking about the idea of art and life. And so I thought about how do I identify myself so that my practice wouldn't be framed any other way than how I want to frame it, at least the initial framing of it. And I came up with the term Dark Imaginarians, dark meaning an unknown and coming out of something, but not necessarily knowing what it is, and not necessarily knowing where it's going. And Imaginarians word portmanteau is from imagine and experience. So does Dark Imaginarians. I always talk about dark adaptation as being a example, because during dark adaptation, when it's all dark, your eyes begin to adjust to the darkness and start to formulate shapes, or at least sparking like an imaginative way of thinking of what those shapes may be or could be. Dark Imaginarians is a part manifesto and part statement. And I thought about Dark Imaginarians because I think about art as how people think about it, is that it's a end game. Like, you create something, you make something, and then here's the product, here's the object for consumption. Well, my thing is, what about the process being as valuable and as equivalent in terms on the ladder as the product? What about where the idea comes from? What sparks the idea? So Dark Imaginarians kind of encapsulates all of those things as being of value. And so it's not just art per se, it's art and ... which is what Dark Imaginarians is carrying. And it also comes from being influenced or inspired by my grandfather. When I was young, he had a lawn business, and he would invite men from the neighborhood, Third Ward, to work for him. And these men were either veterans, they were maybe homeless, they were recovering addicts, and are coming, just being released from being incarcerated. And so me watching that as a young person, like 7 and 8, I started to really be interested in not only just like making things, but also just interested in people in general. So a lot of my work has that in mind, this kind of social, political, cultural concern, and also collaboration and community as well. So that's what Dark Imaginarians is, and I look at it as being like art and life, and it's continuously changing, just like dark adaptation. It changes as your eyes adapt to it. So what I think it is today it may change next week. It's like an ongoing poem. This project at the CAM, that's the public art piece titled Acknowledgement, the Historical Polyrhythm of Beings, was commissioned by the CAM, and it was also it's part of a larger project, which is titled Acknowledgement, which all the different parts of the project has its own title, with acknowledgement being the forefront of the title. And received an Art Social Initiative grant and a Dean's Critical Research grant from Yale to do the acknowledgement piece. But during the midst of that, I was asked to do the public art piece. The way I'm responding to it is thinking about history, memory, and language, and social transformation or community transformation, and how do these things mirror or similar to like art processes. And it's almost like a proposition that I'm trying to argue through the making of the work and the actual project. I'm asking young kids from areas of 3rd, 4th, and 5th Ward, historically black neighborhoods, to donate backpacks. And they donate their backpacks in exchange for new backpacks for either school or just for their own leisure because of COVID. And in turn, I placed these backpacks on a 120-foot banner, which also has text, word that I created out of the idea of making new meaning, and also how language exists with the everyday person and how that can be of value. So I asked them to do that, and then placed the backpacks on the fence, and then it lights up at night. So what I was thinking about is trying to create a collage of ideas and bring an idea about social connectivity and relationships with other people, along with the materials and along with text. So these students are able to not only say they participated in the project, they actually can go and see their piece, their backpack, as a part of a project in front of the museum. And so I think that's very important when you're thinking about representation, particularly when a lot of the arts are being removed from, art education is being removed from the schools. And another way to think about it is being able to repurpose materials that in some way may not have a life, but it has a history. And so symbolically, I think about like these neighborhoods being settled by free slaves, 3rd, 4th, and 5th Ward, then changing because of gentrification, because of poverty, because of the education systems. Being a black person living within those spaces, there's still acts of resistance, still acts of imagining new spaces within a space that's not allowing it. And so there's a repurpose and purpose going on in those spaces. There's also a Morse code that is signaling at night. The song from the chorus from saying "The Love Supreme" from John Coltrane's song. There's an excerpt from James Baldwin, Uses of the Blues essay, and Solange's song "Mad." There's a part that's speaking, and so my idea is basically creating a song by using that text into Morse code. And so again, there's this idea of like collage, idea of resourcefulness and reuse, but still speaking, and it's speaking musically, but the musicality is in the Morse code and not necessarily in what you hear in terms of audio. Questions that I'm thinking about is, what can an exchange say or do about justice or injustice? What does being in a space and not being in a space at the same time look like? What experimental systems can we create or imagine or reimagine that could respond to those that are overlooked and different forms of erasure? I'm hoping that first and foremost, the kids and students who donate the backpacks come back to the CAM and check out them on the fence in the daylight and at nighttime, and see if they can recognize their own backpacks. I think that's important. I think that's satisfying, and I think that's inspirational for not only them but also me. And I would think if anyone, whoever comes by, they see the backpacks, I think it triggers like the memories of either their childhood or some relationship they have with other kids. For the other people, I'm just hoping that it poses a lot of questions on why. What is this? Why is this here? What does this mean? The word psycho slab acknowledgement, main hold up, black spatialistic is recognizable in parts, and I hope the word as a whole creates some kind of curiosity to what the word is, but also thinking about what words are and how words can change, and all the words have value. The slang has value as well as the words we understand to be traditional formal language as well has value. So hopefully that will kind of create some kind of conversations about that, and then think about what is Third Ward, what is Fourth Ward, what is Fifth Ward then and now.